the test you never signed up for. There's something happening behind the scenes, Scorpio, something you haven't spoken aloud, maybe not even fully admitted to yourself, but your spirit knows. Your gut has been whispering it at midnight. Your chest has felt it tighten during conversations that should have been casual. Your eyes have noticed the way theirs lingered just a little too long. It's not paranoia, it's perception. And what you're perceiving is this: someone is testing you, not the kind of test that challenges your skill, your courage, or even your love. No, this is something far more sinister. They are testing your loyalty, but not in a way that invites intimacy or asks for your truth with reverence. They are probing, watching, analyzing, as if you were a riddle to decode, a specimen under glass. They want to see how far you'll go, how much you'll share, how deep your silence runs before you break. And here's what cuts the deepest, Scorpio. They're not testing you because they want to grow with you. They're doing it because they don't trust you. Or more precisely, they don't know how to trust anyone. And now they've placed you in the courtroom of their own unresolved trauma. But you, dear Scorpio, you never asked to be a defendant in someone else's emotional trial. You never agreed to this silent interrogation. You gave your loyalty as a gift, not a demonstration. You offered your truth like sacred incense, slowly, deliberately, from the altar of your soul. And now someone is sniffing around, trying to dissect the ingredients. There's a weight in your chest lately, isn't there? A restless ache, like a storm forming behind your ribs. That's not anxiety. That's your spirit getting ready to make a decision, to shift, to pull back the energy you so carefully offered and ask, who deserves access to me? Who has earned the right to hear my silence? And who only listens to find cracks in my foundation? This video is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the manipulators, the opportunists, or those who treat emotional depth like a minefield they can casually walk through. This is for you, the Scorpio who feels everything, who knows too much, who's exhausted by pretending not to see what's so obviously wrong. You've been loyal, too loyal, but now the test is over, and you're the one grading it. In the next chapters, we're going deep into what's really happening, why someone is baiting you, how to see through the subtle traps, when to speak, when to fall silent, and why this isn't just about protecting your heart, it's about reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty. You're not here to be understood by everyone, you're here to be whole. Let's begin. Part 1. The eyes that linger too long. It always starts with something small, doesn't it, Scorpio? A glance that lingers a beat too long. A question that feels just a little too polished, too rehearsed, too strategic. You're in the middle of a perfectly normal conversation, a coffee, a text, a smile. And yet, your skin registers it before your mind can explain it. Something is off. You feel it like static behind their words, like a current of unspoken intention threading itself beneath the surface. They ask how you're doing, but there's a flicker in their eyes, not of concern, but of curiosity, not the warm kind, the forensic kind. And this is where your Scorpio instinct begins to coil. Because while others may miss the nuance, you never do. You've trained your life around silence, around reading rooms like libraries. You don't just hear tone, you absorb frequency. You don't just listen to words, you feel their weight. And now someone near you is shifting their energy. They're watching, not admiring, assessing. Scorpio, this is the moment where your soul stiffens, not out of fear, but out of recognition. You've seen this before, you've been on this stage before, and you know how the performance plays out. Because while their questions sound harmless, you know they are bait. And while their eyes stay soft, their aura betrays the hunger to know something you haven't offered. This is not love. This is not friendship. This is data mining, wrapped in emotional intimacy. What they want is access, not connection. They want the password to your soul, but they're unwilling to reveal the code to theirs. This is the tragedy of being a Scorpio. People are drawn to your depth, but not everyone can handle what it costs to truly earn it. They say they want to know the real you, but they flinch the moment your honesty doesn't match their fantasy. They invite you to speak, but only if your truth fits neatly into their comfort zone. And here you are again, feeling that ancient tension rise in your chest. Because deep down, you know, someone is testing your boundaries without ever admitting they crossed one. They're asking one more question than they should. They're too eager when you open up, too silent when you pull back. They're not reacting to your energy, they're recording it. Scorpio, this is the moment where your sovereignty begins. Not with confrontation, not with anger, but with discernment. You don't need to expose anything else. You don't need to be clear, to explain yourself, to calm their suspicions. You only need to witness, observe, withdraw your emotional investment. And let your silence speak on your behalf. Because if someone truly saw you, really saw you, they would never force your truth through a filter of suspicion. They would approach you with wonder, not with questions designed to corner you. Remember this, the one who lingers too long isn't always captivated. Sometimes they're calculating. And Scorpio, your job is not to perform under pressure. Your job is to protect the sacred ground of your soul from those who don't come to build with you, but only to study you like a strange, fascinating flame. Let the next move be yours. Let the gates begin to close, gently but decisively. Part 2. They're not curious. They're collecting evidence. Scorpio, let's make one thing clear. Curiosity and calculation are not the same. One invites truth to bloom. The other pulls truth apart to use it as a weapon. And right now, someone near you has blurred that line. You've noticed it, haven't you? How their questions are never quite innocent. How they circle around topics you never offered, hoping you'll slip and reveal something more. They're not interested in your favorite book or your dream vacation. They want to know where your walls are, where your soft spots live. They want to find the places you hesitate, because that's where the leverage lies. This isn't connection, it's a quiet interrogation. And Scorpio, you were never built to be a suspect. You see, real curiosity is holy. It sits gently, it doesn't rush, it opens doors with reverence. But what you're experiencing now is surveillance disguised as conversation. It's a person asking, "Are you okay?" But what they mean is, "Are you consistent with the image I've constructed of you?" It's not love, it's quality control. And the more you answer, the more they store. For later, for comparison, for leverage. What they're doing is collecting emotional fingerprints, Scorpio, studying your patterns, not to understand you, but to predict you. Because when someone is operating from fear, from insecurity, from past betrayal, they've never healed. They don't connect to feel safe, they connect to feel superior. They're not building with you, they're building a file on you. And here's the painful part, they may not even realize they're doing it. Some people become so wounded, so afraid of being blindsided, that they train themselves to interrogate love instead of receiving it. They've confused suspicion with protection, control with care, interrogation with intimacy. But Scorpio, that is not your game. And it is certainly not your job to soothe their paranoia by leaking your soul in pieces. You don't owe answers to anyone who asks with calculation instead of compassion. You don't owe clarity to someone who demands it like a receipt for your presence. And you most definitely don't owe your transparency to a person who isn't transparent themselves. So now, the question turns back to you, Scorpio. How do you want to respond? Will you keep offering pieces of your sacred self, hoping they'll finally trust what was never meant to be proven? Or will you begin to close the circuit, to stop leaking information to someone who isn't even building safety with you? Because this is the moment when your power returns, not by fighting, not by defending, but by choosing discernment over disclosure. Speak less, smile softer, say just enough, and keep the rest wrapped in silk and shadow, as only a Scorpio can. Remember, beloved, not everyone who listens to you is listening for you. Some are listening for themselves, for their fears, for their theories, for their control. And you are not here to be someone else's storyline. You are here to be a sovereign force, mysterious, sacred, and beautifully unreadable. Part 3. Loyalty is not a performance. It's a sacred offering. Scorpio, you've probably heard it 100 times. Prove you're loyal. Show me I can trust you. Be transparent. But here's what they never understand. Your loyalty was never designed to be proven. It was designed to be felt. You don't perform your loyalty, you embody it. You become it. It's not something you show, it's something you offer, in silence, in presence, in unspoken knowing. When you trust someone, Scorpio, you don't give them breadcrumbs. You don't test the water. You pour the ocean. Your loyalty isn't just about sticking around when things get hard. It's about staying energetically present even when your mind is screaming to run. It's about carrying their name in your prayers. About protecting their secrets in rooms they'll never enter. About fighting battles for them, battles they'll never even know you fought. But here's the tragedy, Scorpio. Most people don't recognize loyalty unless it's loud, unless it comes with grand declarations, public displays, over-explanations. They expect your loyalty to look like theater, but yours is a temple, quiet, sacred, untouched by performance. And when people can't see it the way they want, they begin to doubt it, to prod at it, to demand it, to test it, as if it were something as cheap as obedience. That's where the betrayal begins, not with disloyalty, but with misinterpretation, because loyalty, true loyalty, cannot grow in soil poisoned by suspicion. It only blooms where trust has already taken root. And when someone treats your depth like a riddle, when they demand evidence, when they dissect your silences looking for confessions, they're not seeking your loyalty, they're looking to control the way it's delivered. But you, Scorpio, you were never built for performance. You're built for presence. You don't offer your truth on command. You offer it when the ground beneath you feels safe enough to open. And when it's not, you close. Not out of malice, but out of self-respect. Let this be your reminder. You are not here to audition for anyone's trust. You are not here to reassure people who don't know how to feel secure without constant reassurance. You are not here to betray your own boundaries, just to meet someone else's expectations of what loyal should look like. You are here to love wisely, to give with discernment, to share your energy only in places that honor it without asking for a receipt. Because Scorpio, the moment you feel the need to prove your loyalty is the moment you must ask, why is it not being received in its natural form? Your loyalty is not a currency to be traded. It is a sacred offering, like incense in a hidden sanctuary. And those who demand it through manipulation, pressure, or control, they don't deserve it. No more leaking soul essence for those who don't know how to hold it. No more explaining your love in languages they refuse to learn. Let your silence speak louder than explanations. Let your restraint carry the message. I don't prove loyalty, I live it. And if you can't see it, it was never meant for you. Part 4. The test was never about you, it was about their fear. Here's the twist no one ever wants to admit. Scorpio, this test you're being put through, it was never really about you. It was never your silence. It was never your boundaries. It was never your truth that triggered this investigation. It was their fear, their wounds, their unhealed past, their emotional ghosts still pacing the hallways of their heart. And now, you, the one who came in quietly, with depth and devotion, you've become their latest suspect. Not because you betrayed them, but because someone else did. You're not standing trial for your actions. You're standing in the shadow of someone else's mistakes, a past lover who lied, a friend who left, a parent who never showed up. And now they're watching you, Scorpio, not with curiosity, but with suspicion that was already packed in their luggage before they ever met you. They didn't come to you empty-handed. They brought the blueprint of betrayal, and you've been measured against it since day one. You see, when someone hasn't done the healing work, they don't build relationships, they build evidence boards. And you're not their partner, you're their case study. They take note when you hesitate. They analyze when you don't respond fast enough. They catalog when you protect your energy. And all the while, they're whispering to themselves, "See, I knew it. They're just like the last one." But Scorpio, listen to me closely now. You are not here to be punished for someone else's sins. You are not the placeholder for their pain. You are not the canvas on which they project their insecurity. You are not their redemption arc, nor their emotional rehabilitation center. You are not their test. And you are certainly not their lesson to teach. You are your own force, your own frequency, and your presence alone should be enough to be met with openness, not interrogation. But here's what often happens to souls like yours, Scorpio. You show up deep, present, honest, and instead of being welcomed, you are feared, because your energy demands truth. Your silence demands authenticity. Your gaze sees what others bury. And so, those who haven't faced their own shadows will always feel exposed in your presence. They won't know how to love you, because love, real love, requires vulnerability, requires surrender, requires them to trust someone other than themselves, and they're simply not ready. So what do? They turn to control, they turn to suspicion. They turn to tests, because testing you feels safer than trusting you, because investigating you feels less terrifying than trusting their own heart. This isn't your failure, Scorpio. This isn't even your fight. This is a pattern they've been locked in long before you came along. You just happened to walk in during the chapter where they still hadn't learned to believe in goodness. So now the question becomes, will you stay in a dynamic built on their pain? Will you keep giving and proving and showing up for someone who was never really looking at you, but only at their own fear dressed in your shape? Or will you choose to step out of their story and reclaim your own? You didn't come here to heal their ghosts. You came to honor your own spirit. And anyone who needs you to prove that you're real is not ready for the kind of truth you carry. Let them keep their clipboard. Let them keep their checklist. You walk away with your head held high and your soul intact, because no matter what they were looking for, you were never the problem. You were the answer they didn't know how to receive. Part 5. The pain isn't that they misunderstood you, it's that they misused your light. Scorpio, let's speak the truth that most people are too afraid to say out loud. It doesn't hurt because they misunderstood you. It hurts because they did understand you, and they still chose to misuse what you gave them. They saw your tenderness. They watched how deeply you listened. They noticed how you always remembered the small things, how you offered silence as comfort and presence as a gift. And instead of honoring that light, they decided to use it. Not because you were weak, not because you were naive, but because your love made them feel powerful. And somewhere along the way, they confused being loved with being in control. This is the unspoken wound that Scorpios carry. You don't just give affection, you give access. Access to your inner world, access to your intuition, access to your energy, the kind that can heal others just by being near them. And most people are not trained to receive that kind of medicine with reverence. They take it like a drug. They absorb it until they feel high. Then when the power dynamic shifts, when they realize you see through them, they get scared. They run. Or worse, they turn against you because your light revealed too much. Your loyalty made them feel too seen. And instead of rising to meet your truth, they tried to reshape it into something they could control, contain, or escape. And so the hurt isn't just betrayal, it's desecration of something sacred you offered freely, your truth, your trust, your energy. Scorpio, you've likely been here before, opening your soul, thinking, this time, maybe they'll understand. But understanding is not the same as holding. Seeing is not the same as respecting. And attention is not the same as care. Some people come close only to extract. Not because they hate you, but because they don't know how to sit beside a fire without trying to own the flame. But here's the deeper lesson. Just because they mishandled your light doesn't mean your light is too much. Just because they misused your honesty doesn't mean you should become dishonest. Just because they took advantage of your depth doesn't mean you should become shallow. The pain you feel now is not a punishment. It is an initiation. You're being called to refine your giving, to protect your essence with new discernment, to understand that just because someone is drawn to your frequency doesn't mean they are worthy of access to it. You are not here to be decoded, Scorpio. You are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a presence to be experienced, fully, slowly, respectfully. So let the sorrow rise if it must, but don't let it turn into shame. Don't let someone else's inability to love you cleanly make you doubt the purity of what you gave. Instead, make this a turning point, not where you shut down, but where you learn to gatekeep your light, not from fear, but from self-respect. Let your next love be sacred. Let your next friendship be earned. Let your next version of openness come with requirements. Because Scorpio, when your heart chooses to love, it loves like a sacred fire. And no one should ever touch that flame unless they have learned how not to burn it. Part 6, not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Scorpio, let's talk about your inner world, that cathedral of silence, that echoing cave where your truest self whispers, that sacred chamber no one sees unless you invite them in. And for too long, you've left the door slightly open, not wide, not recklessly, but open enough for someone to sneak through with pretty words and fragile masks. Why? Because part of you wants to believe in goodness. Because part of you still believes that if you show your raw, beautiful truth, someone will recognize it, honor it, and guard it like you would. But Scorpio, not everyone is worthy of that kind of invitation. Not everyone who knocks is meant to come inside. Some enter only to see what they can rearrange, to critique the architecture, to track mud through your polished corridors, to leave the lights on and walk away. And when they leave, they don't even realize what they've touched, what they've disrespected. Because to them, it was just a room. But to you, it was a temple. You see, Scorpio, your vulnerability is not community property. Your truth is not a buffet for the emotionally starved. Your soul is not a confession booth for those who only listen to find leverage later. You must begin to choose, with intention, with power, with the reverence you've always deserved. Ask yourself, does this person honor what I share? Do they know how to listen without twisting? Do they respect my silence without demanding explanations? Or do they come in with questions dipped in suspicion, acting like curiosity when all they really want is control? This is your season to filter access, not from paranoia, but from sovereignty, because access to your energy is a privilege, not a right. It is earned in presence, in mutual safety, in long moments of quiet truth. And if someone needs a performance to feel secure, let them go find actors. Because you, Scorpio, are not here to put on a show. You are here to be the show, the cosmic force, the sacred storm, the stillness after lightning. And those who can't stand still in your thunder were never built to witness your calm. So build your gates, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Let them be soft but firm. Let them open for those who come barefoot, humble, honest, unafraid of your depths. And let them stay closed to the ones who come only to critique what they cannot comprehend. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not distant for being discerning. You are not unkind for protecting your peace. You are choosing clarity over chaos. You are choosing sacred space over shared confusion. You are remembering that you are the guardian of your own soul. And from this day forward, you do not owe access to anyone who doesn't know how to treat your truth like the divine invitation that it is. Part 7. Speak with grace, but leave the core untouched. Scorpio, you are a master of language. Not just the kind spoken aloud, but the kind that's felt. The kind that vibrates beneath words. The kind that tells someone everything they need to know without ever giving away what you need to protect. And now, more than ever, you are being asked to return to that gift. Because here's the truth. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every invitation deserves a response. And not every gaze, no matter how charming, deserves to see your soul. You must learn again what you've always known deep down. It's okay to speak with grace and still keep your essence guarded. The world around you often pushes a false narrative. That openness means total transparency. That love means total exposure. That to be trusted, you must hand over your entire map. Every scar, every wound, every dream, every failure. But Scorpio, you are not here to be fully decoded. You are here to be respected. You don't owe anyone the full manuscript of your heart. You owe them only what feels right, what feels earned, what feels sacred to give. So speak, yes, but speak like water, fluid, shifting, reflective. Let your words move around questions like a stream curves around stone. Offer warmth, but with boundaries. Offer insight, but only in doses. Because silence, when chosen with intention, is not distance, it is dignity. And when someone comes too close, when their questions sharpen like blades hidden in silk, you do not need to meet them with confrontation. You simply step back into your center. Let your stillness be your shield. Here's a truth the world often forgets. Discernment is not deception. Just because you choose not to reveal something does not mean you're hiding. It means you are wise enough to recognize what is sacred, what is tender, and what is only meant to be held by those who know how to hold without squeezing. Scorpio, your silence can be medicine. Your soft smile can be a boundary. Your gaze can speak volumes without spilling a single secret. This is your moment to refine your power, to stop explaining your stillness, to stop translating your soul into a language that only benefits others. to stop handing over your essence to those who would only twist it into a storyline of their own. Speak with kindness, but let your mystery remain intact. Because when someone truly honors you, they won't demand your full story. They'll listen to the pauses. They'll sense the depth without digging. They'll never confuse access with ownership. You are not here to educate the unready. You are not here to be a project for someone's broken trust. You are here to honor your frequency, to protect the soil of your soul, to remind the world that just because something is beautiful doesn't mean it's meant to be unwrapped. So go ahead, Scorpio. Say just enough. Smile just enough. Remain present, but remain sovereign. Because your truth isn't a stage act, it's a ceremony. And only those who kneel with reverence deserve to witness it. Part 8. Let your silence become your shield. Scorpio, there comes a moment in every sacred soul's life when speaking becomes too expensive, when every word feels like it's being weighed, twisted, repurposed by those who don't come to understand, but to dissect. And when that moment arrives, you must make a powerful, holy choice. You stop explaining and you start protecting. Not out of fear, not out of coldness, but because your silence is no longer weakness. It is wisdom. It is war paint. It is a spiritual force field that says, you may look, but you will not reach me. Scorpio, your silence has always been misunderstood. They say you're brooding. They say you're shutting down. They call it passive-aggressive, dramatic, distant. But what they don't realize is this. Your silence is an alchemical space. It's where your power retreats to reorganize. It's where your truth sits, quietly choosing who will get access next. It's where your rage cools into clarity, your pain distills into purpose, and your heartbreak refines into boundaries. Your silence is not an absence, it's a chamber, a temple, a spell cast to protect what is still becoming. And when someone begins to test your loyalty with traps, when their words feel like bait, when their curiosity is tinged with control, you must not respond with protest. You must not try to clarify again. You must not exhaust yourself with another round of emotional translations. Instead, Scorpio, let your silence become your shield. Because here's what silence does that words never can. It ends the game. It removes the fuel. It dissolves the illusion of access. It draws a boundary so clean, so sovereign, that even the most manipulative mind cannot misinterpret it. Silence says, I see what you're doing. I know this pattern, and I choose not to participate. Scorpio, you are not obligated to engage with anyone who weaponizes your vulnerability, who interrogates your kindness, who spins your softness into suspicion. You are allowed to go still, to go inward, to wrap yourself in your own energy and say, no more. This is the new level of your evolution, not reaction, but redirection, not confrontation, but containment. And there is nothing more terrifying to those who seek to manipulate than a soul who is no longer leaking power. So let the phone ring unanswered. Let the message sit in red silence. Let the half-asked questions fade into echo. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight of your absence like a mirror reflecting back their own emptiness. You do not have to explain the boundary to the person who caused you to build it. You only have to honor it. Because when your silence becomes your shield, you stop bleeding for those who would never offer a bandage. You stop negotiating with people who were never willing to meet you halfway. You stop allowing your inner world to be a battleground for someone else's fears. This is your medicine, Scorpio. The pause, the breath, the dignified stillness. It's not retreat, it's sacred restraint. And when you practice it, you don't just protect your peace, You call back every piece of your energy that was ever taken without permission. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them sit in the absence of the access they once took for granted. You remain quiet, but never powerless. Part 9. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming sovereign. Scorpio, let's clear up the biggest lie they love to tell about you. That you're distant, that you've changed, that you're hard to read, too intense, or emotionally unavailable. But here's the truth. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming sovereign. You are no longer handing out VIP passes to your soul just because someone smiles the right way or says the right things at the right time. You are no longer handing over your time, your energy, your sacred insight to people who only want to touch the power but never stand in it with you. This isn't a loss of warmth. This is a return to your fire's rightful center. They don't understand this, Scorpio, because most people confuse access with entitlement. They think that if they've known you for years, or if they once sat close to your tenderness, that they should still get access to your truth today. But evolution has no loyalty to comfort zones, and your evolution, it's demanding a higher frequency. You're no longer letting guilt make your decisions. You're no longer tolerating half love. You're no longer staying in spaces where you must shrink to be understood. Because now, you understand something divine. Not everyone deserves to sit beside your silence. Not everyone deserves the unfiltered version of you. Not everyone can hold the gravity of your presence without trying to soften it, flatten it, or use it as a mirror for their own ego. This isn't cold. This is sacred clarity. Scorpio, you've poured so much into people, not because they earned it, but because you hoped they would rise to meet what you gave. You saw their potential. You trusted their intention. You believed in the bond. But now you see it clearly. Good intentions aren't enough. Consistency matters. Respect matters. Emotional safety matters. You don't need chaos in the name of chemistry. You don't need questioning disguised as concern. You don't need games where love should have been enough. So when they ask, what happened to you? Say this, not out loud, but with your presence. I healed. I stopped leaking. I stopped auditioning for intimacy. I reclaimed my energy. Let them call it cold. Let them label it however they want, because the only ones who see your boundaries as rejection are the ones who benefited from your lack of them. And you, Scorpio, are no longer shrinking your magic to be digestible to those who were never meant to taste it in the first place. This is sovereignty. This is sacred self-respect. This is the moment you stop explaining and start embodying your highest frequency. So no, you're not colder now. You're clearer. You don't love less, you love wiser. You're not closed off. You're simply unwilling to be opened by force. Let the world adjust to your stillness. Let them recalibrate to your silence. Let them meet you, not where you were, but where you are now. Because where you are now, Scorpio, is a place only the worthy can reach. Part 10. You are no one's emotional dumping ground. Scorpio, there's something you need to say to yourself. Something no one ever taught you, but your soul has always known. You are not here to absorb what others refuse to process. Not their guilt, not their shame, not their mistrust, their projections, their mess. You are not their therapist, their rescuer, their savior, nor their secret vault of suppressed emotion. You are not their emotional landfill. You, Scorpio, are a healer by essence, but even healers have limits. Even alchemists need clean air. Even deep waters reach a depth where light no longer travels. And some of you, right now, are drowning in energies that don't even belong to you. How did it happen? It started innocently. Someone came to you crying, confused, broken. You opened the door. You let them sit at your fire. You listened. You gave. You soothed. You held space. But days turned into weeks. Support turned into extraction. Connection turned into drainage. And before you knew it, you were the container for someone else's unhealed chaos, while your own soul sat unattended in the corner. They didn't ask how you were doing. They didn't check your pulse. They just kept pouring. And you, being who you are, kept receiving. But here's the truth you must now honor. Just because you can hold it doesn't mean you should. Just because your energy is deep and steady doesn't mean it should be used like a storage tank for people too afraid to take responsibility for their own emotional trash. Scorpio, this is not love. This is emotional vampirism. And you were not born to be the unacknowledged nurse to people who mistake access for entitlement. Let this be your declaration. I will no longer absorb what others refuse to heal. Let this be your line in the sand. My presence is sacred. It is earned, not dumped on. You deserve relationships that bring balance. You deserve conversations that give as much as they take. You deserve to be asked, "And how are you today?" without having to earn the question. And when you start saying no, not just with words, but with silence, with detachment, with withdrawal, the ones who were never really seeing you will call you selfish. Let them. Because what they call selfish is simply you remembering that your soul is not a landfill, it is a garden, and only those who come with seeds, with water, with sunlight, get to enter. This is your season of sacred filtration. You are not here to clean up other people's energetic residue. You are here to guard your peace like the temple it is. So when the old dynamics try to resurface, when someone starts using you like an emotional sponge, step back, not with anger, but with clarity. You are not cruel for protecting your capacity. You are not cold for walking away from someone who only ever came to unload. You are choosing self-respect. You are choosing emotional hygiene. You are choosing to love yourself as deeply as you've always loved others. And that, Scorpio, is the beginning of your true freedom. Part 11. Trust your intuition. It's not just a feeling, it's ancestral intelligence. Scorpio, if there's one thing you were born with, it's the inner radar that never misses. The room changes, the tone shifts, the energy stutters, and before anyone else notices, you already know. That chill down your spine, that tightening in your gut, that flash of imagery behind your eyes when someone's words don't match their energy, that's not paranoia, that's not drama, that's not insecurity, that's ancestral intelligence. Your intuition is not a suggestion. It's a survival system passed down through generations of seers, mystics, survivors, and warriors. It is coded into your bloodline, etched into the marrow of your soul, whispered into your dreams by those who came before you. And every time you ignored it, every time you gave someone the benefit of the doubt, every time you overrode that internal whisper with logic or guilt, you paid the price. Because Scorpio, your gift isn't random. It is precise. It is surgical. It is tuned to frequencies that others can't even hear. And now, it's speaking again. It's telling you that someone close is playing a game they'll never admit. That something is being hidden in plain sight. That words are being used like smoke to distract from the flame. You've felt it. You've seen it in their body language. You've tasted it in their hesitation. And still, a part of you wants to wait for evidence. But you don't need evidence. You are the evidence. Your knowing is your protection. And when you trust it, Not only do you avoid unnecessary betrayal, you begin to honor every ancestor who handed you this wisdom through fire and storm. Because they didn't survive so you could explain away your instincts. They didn't pass the torch so you could dim it for the comfort of others. They gave you this gift so you could recognize danger before it puts on a friendly face. So yes, trust that little shift in energy. Trust the look they gave you when they thought you weren't watching. Trust the feeling that says, don't share that just yet, because your intuition has never lied. The only time it failed was when you refused to listen. And here's the divine secret most don't tell you. Your intuition is not just yours, it's a choir. It's the sound of your soul, your past lives, your ancestors, and your spirit guides, all speaking at once in a language only you can understand. You are not guessing, you are receiving. And the moment you treat your intuition as sacred, as a non-negotiable spiritual directive, you stop asking for confirmation from people who don't even understand themselves. You stop letting manipulation dance in your energy field. You stop giving access to those who made you question what you always knew. Scorpio, you don't need more proof. You need more self-trust. Let your knowing guide your boundaries. Let your instincts rewrite the contracts you signed under pressure. Let your gift become your compass again. And when the world says you're just imagining things, respond silently with a smile and walk away. Because you weren't imagining it. You were just the only one awake enough to notice. Part 12. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be whole. Scorpio, after everything you've felt, everything you've seen behind the masks, every betrayal you survived quietly, there comes a moment when you stop trying to explain yourself and simply begin to live in your truth. This is that moment. Because you're done twisting your essence to make others comfortable. You're done translating your soul into simpler terms for those unwilling to listen deeply. You're done overgiving, over-justifying, over-bleeding in hopes that someone might finally see you clearly. But Scorpio, the truth is, you were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be whole. Whole as in complete. Not fragmented into versions. Not diluted to fit shallow containers. Not softened so others wouldn't fear your intensity. You were born with depth for a reason. You were gifted the ability to see through illusion, to feel what others hide, to know what others deny. And yes, that makes you different. It makes you powerful. And sometimes it makes you lonely. But hear this now, beloved. That loneliness isn't a curse. It's a refinement chamber. It's where your intuition sharpens. It's where your voice returns. It's where your soul collects the parts of you that were scattered in rooms where you never truly belonged. So stop offering explanations to people who've already decided who you are. Stop rehearsing conversations in your mind for those who only listen to respond, not to understand. Start living like your energy is a sacred flame, not meant for fluorescent spaces or hurried hands. Let this be your final initiation. The path forward is not about proving your value, it's about protecting your peace. It's about walking away from dynamics that treat your love like a transaction. It's about honoring your silence not as punishment, but as prayer. Because you're not bitter, you're just done. Done trying to pour into cracked vessels. Done being tested like your loyalty is a performance. Done being spiritually dissected by those too afraid to face their own emptiness. Now, you return to yourself. You build your gates. You bless your solitude. You walk with ancestors at your side, spirit guides in your breath, and wisdom carved into your bones. You love, but you do not beg. You offer, but you do not deplete. You reveal, but only to those who come barefoot with reverence. Because you, Scorpio, are not a question to be solved. You are a truth to be witnessed, and those who cannot handle your shadow will never deserve your light. So close this chapter with dignity. Let them think what they will. Let them wonder why you grew quiet. Let them feel the absence of your fire. You'll be building altars where your energy is honored. You'll be planting gardens where your soul can breathe. You'll be remembering that your presence is the miracle, not the gift you have to prove. You are not too much. You are sacred. Now go where your soul is not just seen, but safe. If this message touched something sacred inside you, if it named the feeling you've been carrying without words, then you've found your space. Here on the path to Buddhist wisdom, we don't just talk astrology, we walk the spiritual path behind it. We honor energy, we protect depth. We remember what the world tries to forget, that the soul speaks in silence, and Scorpio was born fluent in that language. So if your spirit feels seen here, subscribe, not for content, but for truth, for clarity, for reminders of who you are beneath the masks the world asked you to wear. This is your space. This is your frequency. Welcome to the path to Buddhist wisdom, where your intensity is not too much. It's exactly what was missing.